Are you having trouble getting to sleep? That's not a problem. I can read a story to you if you like. You would? Okay. Well, just sit back and under the sheets. Yeah, snuggle up. Okay. Would you like a glass of water to have on your bedside table? No? Okay. Well, how would you like it if I read you a story so you can fall asleep? You would like that? Okay then, sweetie. That's not a problem. I have a book here that I think you would like. Do you like to know what it's called? It's Winnie the Pooh. Do you like Winnie the Pooh? Well, that's a good thing then. Okay, it's called Pooh and the Honey Tree. Okay, so close your eyes and I'll begin. My friend Pooh. Hello, Pooh Bear, I said. I've been waiting for you. Hello there, said Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh came walking along, waddling slightly because his legs are too short. I've known Pooh for years and years. I must have known him for at least 50 years. We used to share a room. I mean, Pooh and some other friends of mine who live with me. You'll meet my other friends soon. Grown-ups said they were only stuffed toy animals, but that's not true. We lived in a wonderful magic place called 100 Acre Wood, which is part of the forest. And of course, it was a real forest. Winnie the Pooh lived in the forest under the name of Sanders. It was up over his door in gold letters, so naturally he lived under it. There was another notice up on his door too. It said, "Ring also." He meant that you could ring his bell and then walk in. Winnie the Pooh was a very friendly bear. I don't know exactly why he lived under the name of Sanders. Nobody in the forest actually called him Sanders, but he had a lot of other names. Besides just Pooh, he could be called Winnie, Winnie the Pooh, or Pooh Bear. Another thing I don't know is who thought of calling him Winnie. It may have been an idea of Piglet's, or perhaps Eeyore thought of it. Anyway, his own real name was Pooh. He used to say his name out loud when he was playing his favourite game of bowling dandelion clocks. Try it yourself. Hold a dandelion clock in front of your mouth and say, "Pooh." You'll blow all the seeds away. And if a butterfly settled on Pooh's nose and it tickled him, he could say his own name, "Pooh," and it blew off again. So perhaps that's why he's called Pooh. Pooh had a very important time every day, not long after he'd gotten up around 11 o'clock in the morning. It was 11's time, or time for a little something, as Pooh called it. Not that he told everybody about it, only you and me. If he had to write it down, it came out like this: Tim for a little something. Only as his name it was a secret. He never did write it down. It was 11's of time for a little something, or honey time. Bears are always hungry, and and they will eat almost anything, but what they like best of all is honey. Pooh had lots of pots of honey, but he liked honey so much that the pots soon got empty. Pooh was very thorough, and he liked to get to the bottom of things, particularly honey pots. "Oh dear," said Pooh sadly, "empty again. Just a little bit of stickiness around the rim." Greedy old Pooh Bear had eaten so much honey that he was getting quite fat. One day Pooh burst at the seams. Well, one seam burst anyway, the one down his back. "Silly old bear," I said, "you'll have to get a bit thinner." "Oh dear," said Winnie the Pooh. "Christopher Robin, please would you get me a needle and thread and sew me up again? My stuffing is all coming out." "I'm afraid I'm not much good at sewing," I told him. "But it doesn't look very nice, does it?" said Pooh. "All that fluff and stuff coming out? Please, Christopher Robin." I couldn't say no when Pooh Bear asked me so nicely, so I put a few stitches in him. I thought that'll hold him together a bit longer. Bears are not particularly clever, but when Pooh really tried thinking, he thought very hard indeed. When he heard a clock strike, for instance, he knew that meant it was time for something. Can you think what it is I wanted to think about now? Pooh asked himself. And he told himself, no, nor can I. Think, think, think. Oh, I know. It's time for my stoutness exercises, said Pooh. So he did his stoutness exercises, and he made up a little hum to go with them. The words went like this. Up, down, touch the ground. When I go up, down, and touch the ground, it puts me in the mood for food. Oh dear, said Pooh to himself. It's all rumbly in my tummy. I do believe it's time for my elevenses. Time for a little something. And he went on humming happily to himself. I am short and fat and proud of that. I am stout and round, and I have found when I have happy, happy appetite, I'm a happy, happy Pooh. Up, down, touch the ground. When I go up, down, and touch the ground, it puts me in the mood for food. And then Pooh's clock struck again, just to remind him it really was time for a little something. So he stopped humming in a rather hurry. Silly old greedy old Pooh. Are you enjoying the story so far? Can you feel yourself falling asleep? Oh, that's okay. I'll continue reading anyway. Okay. I've told you about Pooh's clock and the way he blew dandelion clocks by saying his own name. He could make up other words with his name in them too. For instance, if it was cold, he wrote pullover. And of course, he washed his fur with shampoo. And sometimes, on a rainy day, he liked to stay at home and do a jigsaw puzzle. If Pooh ever met a dog, he was pleased if it was a poodle, and he thought that if he was a cat, he would be a pussy cat. But sometimes he cheated and put his name into words where it wasn't really there at all. For instance, he might tell you it was a beautiful day. His favourite sort of book, if only he had been better at reading, would have been a Pooh book, because he was fond of things to eat. And he made up a new saying as well. You might say somebody was hungry as a hunter, but Pooh would say hungry as a poo, and that meant very hungry indeed. Hungry enough to eat a whole pot of honey at once. Or if he said the poorest of friends, he meant the best of friends, the kind of bear really likes to have, such as Piglet. Piglet really was Pooh's best friend. I'll tell you more about Piglet later. Pooh was getting very, very thoughtful about something again. Think, 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 said Pooh to himself. Now, what was I trying to think of? While Pooh was thinking, he suddenly heard the sound of buzzing. That meant something, said Pooh. I know what it means. Buzzing means bees. Now Pooh knew what he was trying to think of, and bees means honey, said Pooh to himself. And why do bees make honey? So then I can eat it. Pooh climbed the honey tree, and on his way he sang a little song to himself. Isn't it funny how a bear likes honey? Buzz, buzz, buzz. I wonder why he does. Oh, said Pooh to himself, my tummy's all rumbly inside. I don't know why, but I do like honey. Careful, Pooh Bear. You'd better watch out, or... Oh, help, said Pooh to himself. If only I hadn't climbed this tree, I would have... This is what comes of liking so much honey. Oh, help, said Pooh, bouncing from branch to branch, and finally he fell off the last branch and landed in a goose bush. Pooh crawled out of the goose bush, took the prickles out of his fur, and asked the bush crossly, Why can't you go and grow somewhere else? Pooh didn't often get cross, but anyone can see why he felt cross now. Christopher Robin lives in a forest near his friends so that he can help them if they ever needed anything. There was lots of things Christopher Robin was going to do that fine summer's day. He was planning to mend his bicycle and tidy his toys. Then he was going to play games with his friends in the clearing in the middle of the 100-acre wood. Good morning, Christopher Robin, said Pooh unhappily. Good morning, Pooh Bear, said Christopher Robin. If it is a good morning, growled Pooh, and he looked all round him. Looking for anything in particular, Pooh? Asked Christopher Robin. Well, said Pooh, I was wondering if you had such a thing as a balloon about you. Well, yes, I have, said Christopher Robin. But what do you want a balloon for, Pooh? Shh, said Pooh in a loud whisper, and then he added, honey. But Pooh, said Christopher Robin, you don't get honey with balloons. I do, Christopher Robin, said Pooh. How? Asked Christopher Robin. I fly up to the honey tree like a bee, said Pooh. Look, like this. And he took off. Christopher Robin was just in time to catch him. Wait a minute, Pooh. Don't be in such a hurry. The bees are sure to notice you. Not if I am in disguise, said Pooh. Would you take me to the nice muddy place, and then I can splash around in it? So Christopher Robin took Winnie the Pooh to a very muddy place, and Pooh rolled about in the mud until he was black all over. Nobody will recognise me now, would they? Asked Pooh. Why did you just do that, Pooh? Christopher Robin asked. So as to look like a black cloud, said Pooh. I want the bees to think I'm a little black rain cloud, and that will deceive them. Silly old bear, said Christopher Robin. Now, said Pooh, give me the balloon back, please. 4, 3, 2, 1, and up went Pooh into the air, holding on to the balloon. Hold tight, shouted Christopher Robin, but Pooh couldn't hear him any more. He was singing another little song. He wanted to make the bees feel sure he really was a rain cloud. So he was telling them, and the song went like this. I'm just a little black rain cloud, hovering under your honey tree. Only a little black rain cloud, pay no attention to me. And then Pooh went on singing very quietly. You know, a hungry old Pooh cloud never gets hungry. No, not at all. I'm just fooling around over the ground, wondering where I will fall. Pooh liked his new song very much. He sung another verse of it. I'm not hungry, old Pooh Bear. I'm just a little black honey cloud. No one knows better than me. Bees, stealing your honey is not allowed. Everyone knows that a rain cloud never eats honey. No, not a drip. I'm just a floating around over the ground, wondering where I will drip. Pooh thought this was a very good song, and it's sure to deceive the bears, he said to himself. But the bees must have noticed something, because they began humming very loudly in a very excited way. Perhaps it was the singing that excited them, Christopher Robin. Pooh called down. I think these bees suspect something. Perhaps they've noticed you're after their honey, Pooh. But I'm just a little black rain cloud, Pooh went on singing bravely. I say, Christopher Robin, perhaps you could help me deceive the bees, said Pooh. Could you put your umbrella up and say, tut, tut, it looks like rain? I say, Christopher Robin, Pooh added, a little later. I think these are all wrong sort of bees, quite the wrong sort. I want to come down again. Help! What's happening? The balloon is going down. Christopher Robin had a short and little hole in the balloon, had shot a little hole in the balloon with his gun, so the air was going out of it, and it was going down, and so was Pooh. Help, Christopher Robin. It's all right, said Christopher Robin. I'll catch you, Pooh. There, that'll teach you not to meddle with bees. But Pooh was not the bear to give in easily. If he wanted to eat honey, he was going to get some. The bees were buzzing and flying around in a threatening way, coming after him. Thief, they buzzed. Thief, trying to steal our honey. You watch out. Christopher Robin was just in time to put his umbrella up. He seized Pooh and jumped into the muddy puddle with him. They sat there under the umbrella, quite safe from the bees. Pooh was glad to be back in the puddle again. He liked playing in the mud. The bees swarmed around for a little longer, buzzing angrily. But they can't find Pooh and Christopher Robin under the umbrella. Just think what they looked like when he came out of that muddy place. 2 little black rain clouds. It took both of them a long time to wash themselves clean again. By now, there was a terrible rumbling in Pooh's tummy. He had a very dangerous adventure, and there still wasn't a drop of honey inside him. He looked inside his honey pots again, just in passing. Oh, look, Christopher Robin, he cried. There's honey in my pots. Real honey. Did you put them in there for me? Yes, you greedy old bear, said Christopher Robin. And Pooh ate and ate and ate until he was full of honey. Pooh felt happy and sticky, and so he began to sing another song at the top of his voice. And it went like this. Winnie the Pooh, Winnie the Pooh, tubby little chubby, all stuffed with fluff. I'm Winnie the Pooh, Winnie the Pooh, willy-nilly, silly old bear. Well, that was the story of Pooh and the Honey Tree. I'll introduce you to some of my other friends in my next book. There's Eeyore, Tigger, and Rabbit, and not forgetting Owl, and of course Kanga and Roo as well. And there's Piglet, Pooh's great friend. I'm Christopher Robin, and when I get to know Pooh, I was quite little, just 7 years old. All my stories are true as there is a forest and 100-acre wood in it. The end. Well, did you enjoy that? Oh, I can see you're already asleep.